Give me a D and a G. It's the Dawg and Gus Show. It's the Dawg and Gus Show.
Hey, Dawg, your beard's looking flickin' great, my man.
Thanks, Gus. I've been using the Bush Beard Wash.
The what now?
At Bush Beard, they know that every man with a beard is a unique beardo. And that's why they offer a wide range of products to cater to every beard's needs. Whether you have a long and luscious mane or prefer to keep it short and sharp, their products will help you achieve that perfect look.
From the nourishing beard oil and balm to the refreshing beard wash, their products are made with all-natural local ingredients to keep that beard healthy, soft, and lustrous. The beard comb and brush are designed to detangle and shape your beard, making sure you always look your best.
At Bush Beard, they're dedicated to providing the best possible grooming experience for all the beardos out there. So why settle for an average beard when you can have a glorious, well-groomed one? Try Bush Beard products today and unleash the full potential of your beard.
Be sure to use Dawg and Gus 10 and get 10% off your order.
Bush Beard, the small town brand with the big old Canadian heart. Welcome to the Dawg and Gus Show.
Soon to be on Be Kind Radio.
Hells yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome when it goes there too.
It's a month away.
It goes there.
It goes there.
What do we got going on, bro?
We're going to talk to one of the members of the Bluestone Collective tonight. It's Derrick.
Hey, Derrick, what are you doing, man?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And just to let you know, some of the other guys may show in true rock and roll style, fashionably late.
Yeah, we'll pop them in when they pop in, if they pop in.
Yeah, and we won't talk to them.
No.
We'll just ignore them because they were late.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we run a tight ship here.
Yes.
So where did the guys meet? Where did the band form?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. So Adam, who's the singer and guitar player, I was working with his partner, who's a nurse, and I was her boss. And she told me that her boyfriend is playing and looking for a bass player. And then I went over to jam with them one night, and they were like, "Yeah, man, we're pretty serious, but you can come and jam, and then we'll see how that goes." And then it was a little bit of love at first sight. We started playing together. The formation was a little bit different. We had a different drummer back then as well, and another guy on guitar called Patrick. Patrick's no longer with us. And the drummer, Drew, he was from England, but he was in Canada working, but he had to go back to California. So Adam and I have been together for the last probably 3 years now. And then we had a phenomenal drummer join us through that Facebook for musicians. What's that called? The band mix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we sussed him out through band mix. And even though we're like a rock and blues band, he comes from a punk and kind of metal background. So the boy can play like 220 beats BPM, break a stick, and you can't even tell. So it was a great fit from the start. Definitely adds a lot of energy to our music. We were a little bit more kind of like laid back and bluesy, and this brings up the volume a bit and the intensity. But it's been a great fit. And most recently, we added a new guitar player, Arsh, who spent quite a bit of... So Arsh is from Darjeeling in India and has lived in New Zealand. So huge kind of reggae influence. And as we are all of a certain vintage, obviously our tastes are fairly eclectic, ranging from like rock, blues, a little bit of pop punk, and some reggae. So it's like a true mixtape, potpourri of sounds.
A potpourri of sounds.
That's a sound. See,
this is what happens when you get the bass player to talk, and instead of the lead singer and stuff.
Yeah.
We get cool information,
more intellect.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So that's a cool blend. I mean, it seems like we were listening to a few tracks before we got on here, but you can tell that it's got a little bit of like griminess to it, and it's it has a bit of soul as well. Like it's really a great sound.
Yeah, thanks. And I think that's it's a true representation. Adam Climby, our singer and guitar player, he's a phenomenal songwriter, And when he's playing his music, man, he puts it in there, and it comes from the heart. He feels it, we feel it. And again, I think it's really, that we don't try to fit our sound in any particular kind of box. It's just, the song, he'll come to the table with a song, and it's like 90% together. And then I'll throw in obviously a little bit of bass line. Arsh will add a little something kind of groovy on top of it, and Mark will add his spin on the drums. And it'll be a little bit different than what Adam came to the table with. But yeah, kind of, for lack of a better word or feel, I think it's got like a 90s vibe to a lot of our songs. You can definitely kind of hear those permutations throughout there. But still, yeah, some soul and some blues. And together it's a collective of sounds.
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah.
And that leads into, how did you come up with the Bluestone Collective as a name?
Yeah, so originally when we first met, we had no idea what to call ourselves, and we were chatting through that WhatsApp app, and we were called No Name, and it was kind of like the president. For a background, we had that generic yellow President's Choice, like No Name cookies. And we started going off on tangents, as all bands do, about trying to find the perfect band name. And we were like, what kind of represents us? That we have, that it's us, that it's like a Canadian kind of like Ontario, Quebec kind of vibe that's incorporating blues and rock. So at one point we went off on this tangent of getting all these kind of like a lumberjack theme. Like we were thinking like pine and woods, and it just got into ridiculous territory of band names. And we regressed from that, and somehow we started designing a logo on a napkin kind of thing. And we said, like, it's truly like a collection of sound, and we wanted all the members to be able to bring their influence and participate as much in the creation and of the feel of the music. And so I don't really know. I think the Bluestone was my idea, the Bluestone, or the collective part, and then it just kind of evolved. And from that drawing, I sent the drawing to a friend of mine, Andrea, who's a phenomenal graphic designer, and she did our logo, and yeah, we were like, okay, perfect, let's go.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's cool how that came about. It's fun when we ask about band names, because I feel like that's such a challenge, just because you think of famous bands and then you got to make your own. So it's like, I don't know. I think it would just be a lot.
And you're thinking, because these bands didn't start out with those names either, right?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
A lot of them, like they didn't say, we're the Rolling Stones, or we're whatever. It was like something silly, and then something, and it's like, and then we kind of morphed into this. So it's pretty, it's very cool to always hear where the mindset is.
We're the stagnant rocks.
Stagnant rocks.
Yeah, because it's like it's everything and nothing all at the same time. Because the first name is like when someone's like, oh, you play in a band, what's your band's name? And that's like your 10-second elevator pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like, well, we're called Adam and the Rebellion, it's just like, oh, cool name.
Yeah. And when can I get off this elevator?
Yeah,
this is awkward now.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's stuck? So who inspired you to make music personally?
Yeah, I've loved music all my life, and all types of music. And it's kind of funny that I somehow found myself playing bass, because I've always really loved like bass and subwoofers, and I was that kind of person so I'm from Cornwall, Ontario, and I always wanted to put like subs in the back of my car and have like boombastic sounds for that like 90s hip hop. No matter what kind of music I like, I just love having like gratuitous amounts of of bass. Like I want to feel the bass in the music, whether it's, I listen to everything from Miles Davis, like and jazz, to harder stuff, to sometimes some good trance music. I know that may not go over too well here, but a little bit of, I won't want to call it EDM, because I feel like that's a super saturated, really shitty form of music sometimes, but a little bit of again from the '90s, and a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of everything, but really love the bass, and I love to feel the music. So I guess that's how I kind of gravitated, towards playing bass and singing vowels, being backup harmony vocals.
There you go.
Okay. Now we elaborate a little bit. 90s hip hop. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah. No. If as a 90s hip hop aficionado, I would say, who do you go to in that era of hip hop if you go to the 90s?
Yeah, I don't know. Some of it's kind of cliche, just the like Notorious B.I.G., Dr. Dre,
It's not cliche.
the old Slim Shady stuff. I just, some like Wu-Tang.
Oh, he's
Just
pushing all the buttons, dude.
Yeah. He's got it.
Well, Beastie Boys. I love the Beastie Boys.
Obviously,
Just- Yeah.
Yeah, you just made your new best friend. His name's Gus.
He only missed one. Really.
One. Yeah.
Well, a couple, but
Yeah.
one for my heart. Can you guess who it is? And they've actually been in with Beastie Boys tracks. They're from New York.
Way to put him on the spot.
Yeah. They bring a lot of jazz.
Oh, Tribe Called Quest.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well
yeah,
done.
Tribe Called Quest. Yeah,
Well
Tribe
done,
Called
Derrick.
Quest.
That's my
Yeah,
fave.
De La Soul too, like all
Oh,
those
yeah, yeah.
variations.
Yeah. Sorry to put you on
Yeah.
the spot there, but that was
Yeah,
was a
no
must.
worries, no.
It was a must. I love the
Yep. Yep.
90s hip hop. We
He does.
go back to it all the time. I like East Coast and West Coast, so it's not like
No, you're not kind of stirring up any kind of.
it was crazy back then. Though.
Yeah,
It
man.
was a big thing.
All right, let me ask something
Okay,
because you just talked about hip hop for 20 minutes.
I think it was
It's actually
two. Yeah.
Felt like 20.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dog.
Okay, because I'm going to get you to your top 3 bass players of all time.
Oh, top 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard, I really think it depends. It depends what I'm listening to. I love reggae. So sometimes just the simplicity. Like, okay, sure, there's guys like Jacko. There's Entwistle. There's guys who bring things to like a next level. But the Family Man playing reggae. Just laying back and in the groove and in the pocket, and I also just like, So Aston Martin, I think is his name, Aston Barrett, Family Man, but I also just like like tragically hip bass lines. I just like those stay at home bass players who just add to the musicality, and sometimes you may not even notice that someone's playing bass because the song is just like especially with a band like, let's say, like the Tragically Hip, where it's just, everyone's got their levels right, and it just adds to a finished product, like a nice painting where you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that there was white paint on there. But you needed that white paint to contrast everything else.
Yeah, Gord St. Clair is a good bassist. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big.
And
hip
some of
fan,
his
too.
lines are,
It's like I don't even exist today. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
yeah, some of Gord's lines are harder to play than they appear,
Mhm.
It's got a lot of syncopation that you don't necessarily notice until you try to play it, and you're like, oh, that's a little bit harder than I thought that was for rock.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people downplay how crisp and solid the band was, like in the Tragically Hip. Like that. They all were very talented in their own way, and it just worked really well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Gert.
yeah, especially when you have two guys basically playing rhythm and lead and just exchanging those phrases, all throughout the Hips music. because those guitars can kind of get in the way of each other, but the hip, they just did it in such a beautiful way, like almost a little bit like a call and answer, talking to themselves, talking to each other through the music. And then you got Gord, doing his thing on top of that, and just a true poet and just a beautiful songwriter.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's missed. He's missed. I love the hip.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a beautiful band. So if as a band, if you could collaborate with anybody maybe on a tour or something like that, is there a band that's kind of sticks out for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I think for us it would be really cool to go on tour, maybe with like a band or like a Canadian band, who's maybe like been around for a while, and maybe kind of, I don't know. I think playing with like a band with like the Sheepdogs or something, I think that would kind of be, I think that would be pretty rad. Some guys that have like been around for a while, played everything from like smaller gigs to bigger stuff, and kind of, maybe come back down to smaller gigs, but still just rocking it out. I think, for us, I really think collaborating with anyone who's played at a fairly high level, and the things that they could share with us, and their experiences, I think it'd be pretty great to learn from.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, it's not a bad choice. We saw them
Love
at the
it.
NAC. They were amazing.
Yeah, I've seen them a couple times.
Yeah, you have.
I saw a Monster Truck open for them before the Monster Truck was anything, and they're obviously not anything anymore. But it was so loud. It was in a small venue, and it was just like wild. It was a great experience because the Sheepdogs, I think, had just started to take off a bit. So they were still in that small venue, 300 people, kind of grimy place, like downtown. It was pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm down with that. I like that answer.
Mm-hmm. He's pushing all your buttons today,
He is, yeah.
making you feel good about yourself.
Derek and I might be similar in age, so I might
Yes, yeah, probably close, yeah.
Too.
All right, Derek. If there was one song that you could only play for the rest of your life, what would it be? Like you're going to turn on the radio.
No,
you're going to hear this song. You turn on Spotify. It's the only song you can listen to. What's it going to be?
oh man, those are the hard ones, right? The one song.
Wonder if you could say album, Dog. Maybe album.
Nope.
Not just song.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I'm being, because you and Derek are bonding so much, I'm just being a prick. Okay?
It's not nice.
I know. But still.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go for like a longer song, so I'd have like more variation in there. Because these days songs are so short that I'm like, man, that's 3 minutes. That's going to be a long rest of my life.
Yep.
Oh man. Yeah, can I take a pass? Can I think about that for a bit and get back to you on that one? Yeah, I need to percolate. It's such an important one. I feel like I need to percolate that.
That's fair.
Bit.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You go, Gus.
Do you guys have any pre-show rituals?
Yeah, not really. I mean, obviously, having a beer or two before the show. Nothing too crazy. Just yeah, since we haven't played like, super like big shows or anything, we don't have any, I'm not like doing the sign of the cross 15 times to, make sure that we don't forget our notes before, in front of 10,000 people or anything. Most of the stuff is pretty low key. So yeah, no rituals per se.
Fair enough.
Although our last show, we didn't have a set list, and we were just kind of winging it. And I have to say, I wasn't a fan of doing that. Not that I use like a lot of effects on bass, but there's a couple songs where I like to change the tone a little bit. And then, just turning around and being like, okay, we're going to do this. And, trying to step on the right buttons to get the tone. Or I use a active bass too. So we have one song that definitely has like it's a reggae song. So obviously have to turn the tone down and turn the bass up. And So I didn't like not having a set list. So I think that's a ritual that I would not repeat. I want to know what I'm playing for the most part to be able to think ahead.
That's fair.
Well, it seems important too, right? Because your set list kind of sets the tone for the evening, right? Because you pick your songs and how you're going to play them. What's playing first? What's playing second? What's going to play last? So yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think I'd be a set list kind of guy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I think Dog, the show you saw us when we played at the Brass Monkey,
Mhm.
that was a super short set, which was good, but we didn't play a lot of the songs that we normally play. Sometimes we'll start off with this bluesy song called "The Truth," which is one of my favorite songs that we play. We haven't recorded it yet. It's really bluesy. It's kind of almost got a Bill Withers like "Ain't No Sunshine" kind of
Nice.
vibe to it. It's
Mhm.
really, but then it's got that deep kind of like Stevie Ray guitar, feel to it. And sometimes when we start with that song, it's really good. It's a little bit slow. Tempo is probably like 70.
Mhm.
But sometimes I think we tend to play a little bit too loud when we start with that one because it's slow and we can all just, I dig in really deep to the bass. Our drummer digs in really deep. We have another song that actually has a little bit more of like a country twang to it called The River. Every band I think it's mandatory to have a song called The River for every band. But sometimes when we start with that one, it's a little bit lighter. There's some vocal harmonies. I think that's a good one for us to start with. It kind of gets us all in the right place. Get to crack that those harmonies. So I'm ready for the. It's an easy harmony, so the next ones are easier. Yeah.
You ever write up your set list and then read the room and change it?
Yeah, we did that. We played a set a few weeks ago in Mallorytown at
Okay.
this RV kind of festival. And we went in there and we had to, so it was an acoustic set. Our drummer couldn't make it because he plays in another band and they were doing a show. They had a punk show. So we got one of Adam's friends to come play the djembe and do the acoustic set. And we're like, okay, we'll start with covers and then we'll go to our originals. But it wasn't, like I say, like a lot of our covers are like 90s covers, so we did a little bit of Ben Harper, some Sublime, What I Got. And, this would have been, we didn't really know the age of the crowd. Like it was like retired folks. So I think this would have been a better like CCR kind of Steve Miller kind of cover. So then the covers we're playing, we're doing like the Cake version of I Will Survive. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Never heard this song before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we started playing our originals. And they're like, Steve Miller. And we're like,
Mhm.
yeah. So we had to read the room and we'll see how that went. It's kind of funny because I thought it would be really fun to do this like acoustic set. Like, yeah, man, you'll hear all the musicality. You'll hear everyone's instrument. It won't get lost in us just, playing too hard. But, being on stage and trying to groove out to the djembe is like, it was okay. But, at the end of the day, like our drummer's phenomenal, keeps us on time, keeps us on point. It's such a driving force to our music to not have him. I felt a little bit guilty. I almost felt like I was like cheating on my wife or something, like play music without our drummer. I kind of felt guilty.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Good. Well, plus the drummer's so important because, like you said, timing and setting the tone and kind of getting you guys up and all that, right? So I could see how that could be different, especially a drummer that you're mentioning like comes from like that background, because most metal drummers are tremendous drummers. Usually they're like, because they can go so fast and they can stay on time, and it's just an amazing I think it's an amazing skill for sure.
No, it is. I watch some of those guys at some of the shows and I just get tired watching them. They're just there's so much, right? Like
Yeah.
you focus on just the drummer and he's just like wailing and you're like, oh my God, when's he going to stop?
Exactly.
Because I'm like, I'm going to sit down now.
You just got to sit down
Yeah.
because you watched it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Nice.
So our drummer, Mark Andre, he's an amazing dude, so he's a pastry chef and he owns 2 bakeries. And he works like ridiculous hours, and sometimes he'll like go into work at like 4. So he's also an ultra runner. So he'll wake up, he'll run to work, he'll like work his brains out because he owns the business. If someone doesn't show up, he just does a double or whatever. Then he like runs home, and then he'll come to jam and rehearse, and I've already been up for like 18 hours and ran 16 kilometers. But even though he can play fast, he can also play precise. And then when he needs to hold back, he can. And when he needs to do those like rolls for the reggae grooves and, flams or whatever cool drumming techniques, he can get all that and do like cymbal work and really intricate stuff too. That's really melodic and beautiful and, fits with the songs. So it's like a juxtaposition of skill and speed. Which is really beautiful, and he's a true fan of music. He plays every instrument. He sings with us. He appreciates music. He appreciates the sound, and just an all around amazing dude to that I have the privilege of playing music with.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. Throw out the name of the bakery.
La Première Moisson.
Okay.
So he's got one location in Elmer,
Okay.
and then they've got one location in Gatineau, close to the big mall in Gatineau.
Yes. Okay.
And the Best Buy. Adonis, there's like that Greek grocery store. He's in that little plaza. Yeah, so him and his partner run that bakery. They have like, super amazing breads of all kind, and they stock the different grocery stores here in Gatineau with beautiful breads and stuff. And yeah, he made me the best banana bread. He made me a special loaf once. I was like, dude, this is like the best. I love banana bread. This is the best banana bread I've ever had in my life,
Yeah. I love banana.
And he's a drummer.
Me too.
And he's a drummer. Yeah. He runs to work. That's pretty nuts.
He's crazy. He did this like 100-mile ultra across like the most dangerous mountains in Quebec. His feet were like bleeding and stuff. He just feels no pain.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. There's those dudes are crazy. And dudettes.
Yeah.
If you could like picture 5 years from now for the band, where would it be? Like, where would you guys be? Perfect situation.
Yeah, I mean, we're not 20, so we're realistic in terms of like, probably not going to tour the world. But honestly, I think for us, if we could, when we got together, the point of the band was to be super tight, to release, a few EPs or LPs and play some festivals. So for us, even in a couple of years, if we could play like a side stage at Blues Fest, we'd be over the moon, have all our people come see us and have people, that love music to hear us who may not have the chance or opportunity to hear us and just share the music that we love playing. I think that would be great. Once I have a pretty busy work life as well, particularly right now with what I'm into. So it's hard to imagine, like playing more than like once or twice a week. But it would also be super fun. Like if we could all put our careers like on hold for like 6 months or something and tour across, like to do coast to coast. I mean, that would be killer. And, I've had a lot of crazy experiences in my life, and my life has gone in many different ways. And if I could add that to the list of things, I'd be like, yeah, man, that was pretty rad. That, summer that we toured across Canada.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be an endeavor for sure. Now, you talked about recording. Are you guys recording new stuff now?
Yeah, so we actually recorded 6 songs that we were supposed to release. There's only 3 of them on Spotify right now. Something went a little bit wonky when we were trying to get the levels right, particularly with the bass sound. So we had to redo some of those 3 recordings. Like I have to re-record the bass line because something happened with one of the filters where it's just the bass line's like mangled. So we'll, in the next, probably couple months, we'll re-release those. We'll record the truth which is that bluesy song.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably record that reggae song, which is called "Sinking in Love." It's just beautiful and phenomenal. And then we have another song called "Do Unto Others" that we've been working on. That we'd like to record. I mean, ultimately, we would like to have all our stuff recorded. And Marc Andre, the drummer, he's going to be selling the bakery and doing music full time. So he's in school right now doing music production. So hopefully he can find a way to take our recordings and jazz them up and boost them and get the levels right to make it sound, recording worthy. Because when it's recorded, like it's got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the guy's
close
not
to.
busy enough, right?
Well, if he sells the bakery, he'll have more free time probably.
For sure.
But then again, that guy will fill more time if he's if he says from what we've heard. What was the worst piece of advice someone gave you about being a musician?
Just drink more beer and you'll just you'll play better.
It's the same thing with golf apparently. But sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I like to have fun and party, but I have this thing. Even if I have I think for me, I think people need to find like their sweet spot. And when I'm playing, even like one or two is kind of like a good place for me to be precise, in terms of playing bass. Even with like if I drink like 3 tall boys or something and play, it's like, well, this is not as good as it could be, right? And people are spending $15 to come see me play. I don't want to be sloppy. Like, I think my advice to myself is just, chill out, have a beer, have fun, and then have a couple after the show, and watch the next band, if I want to get lit, because my facility and having a couple too many pops just don't, at this point, just don't seem to coalesce for optimal performance.
You get all that?
Coalesce
for optimal performance.
That's very lovely.
But it's well said. Yeah, he does speak for a living, I believe. Do you not?
Yeah, I'm.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, I do. So I'm a director in healthcare. I was involved in like the supervised consumption sites. So the sites where people come in and do drugs. We support people with that, and most recently I had to close one down and then launch a new model called the Heart Hub, which was coined by the provincial government. So we find supportive housing and give people access to healthcare and meet people where they're at, treat people with dignity, and show them that everyone in this world truly matters, even though the forces of some political forces try to I don't know. It seems sometimes like we go in the wrong direction when we truly want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a lot of my job is speaking and PowerPoints and working with other partners in the community to bring healthcare and housing to people who need it the most. So I'm truly privileged to do this great work.
Well, it's noble. It's noble work for sure.
Fulfilling too, I would imagine. I'm sure you see lots of bad stuff, but you see good things too.
Yeah, it's tough. So like my title is director of supportive housing and substance use health, and we come from a place that we recognize that people will do substances. It's human nature, to want to escape pain, and people will always use substances for different reasons. And we're here to give people choice. And, it's not necessarily abstinence for some or for all. For some people, it's just to help them maybe where their substance use has got them to that point where the needle is kind of buried here, to just maybe help them get to a place that they think is right for them. That gives them happiness and health and whatever that means for them.
I like the line where you said you meet people where they're at. I think that's a good line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really great stuff. We'll whimsy this up
A little bit of whimsy.
Okay.
Whimsy.
All right. So you just robbed a bank. All right. And you're running out the door and you get in the car. What song's playing?
Uh, dun-dun-dun-dun, robbing banks all high on them Scooby snacks.
Nice.
What's
Yeah.
that? That's fun-loving
Fun-loving
criminals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Scooby snacks. Yeah, that's a
Put
good
your
one.
hands up. It's a robbery. Or maybe some Pulp Fiction too. I think like that would be good bank robbing music.
Yeah.
Notorious Big.
Yeah, that sounds good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kick in the door, wave in the 4-4.
What's yours this week?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with I don't know. Gotta think here.
Now you know how Derrick felt.
Megadeth.
Megadeth.
Yeah. Cowboy.
Oh.
Yeah. I like that one. That's a good one.
Okay, I'm going to go with New Orleans is Sinking.
Ooh.
Oh.
Just the start of it.
Or Locked in the Trunk of a Car.
That's a good one too, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few I could have picked from, but
Yeah, New Orleans is Sinking is a good
Yep.
just a good get you go kind of drive fast.
exactly
Kinda
drive fast kind of song.
Yeah, I like that.
So, Derrick, what are your thoughts on the music scene here in Ottawa?
Yeah. I think it's really healthy. I think that there's so much talent, and I don't know if that's a product of COVID. You know, people spending like more time playing their instruments and really just like learning how to play or jamming together. But man, like that show that we did at the Brass Monkey, the Copper Shop, those guys, they were like 17 or 18. They were killing it. Like the singer was like super charismatic based on his age. You know, and Saturn Sunrise, like those guys were rocking it. You know, like they had that. I feel like they got like a kind of like Cage the Elephant
Yeah.
vibe to them.
Patrick and Adam or Alex are really good guys too. Andy, sorry. They're cool. The one thing I didn't care for about the first band, and it's not a slight on them, but when he said they're almost done and he goes, yeah, we got some, much better bands coming up next. I'm like, dude, don't say that. You guys killed it for the age that you're at, and it didn't even look like they were young enough, even old enough to drink. But don't say that.
No, I don't think
just,
so.
Just don't put that on yourself. But other than that, yeah, they were great, and that whole show was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like all the bands that we played, the other bands that played after were awesome, and I've been rocking out to Alter a Fuzz, like on in my headphones when I'm like riding my bike, like mountain biking and stuff. It's just like super deep, really good. All the bands we've had the pleasure to play with, like they've been awesome. We've played with this band a couple times, the Derrico Party. We played with them at Avant Garde twice, and man, those guys put on a good show. You know, they kind of got this like a little bit. Some of their songs have this like Pixies vibe to them. They pass the mic, they all sing, play different instruments. Like every show that I've been to in Ottawa, like it's been great. You know, like these bands that you've never heard of, and then you check out their Spotify, and I'm like, man, these guys are like writing good songs. The stuff's like pretty original. Yeah, I think the music is really healthy. I think maybe just the venues, right? Like maybe just a couple different venues. You know, they got that big venue coming downtown. I think that's going to be like rocket fuel for the scene. Yeah, what do you guys think of the scene?
Vibrant.
We've been talking about it. Like I go out as much as I can, and you're right. Like, I'll go out, see a band I know, see somebody I don't know. And the talent is just, it's up here. I was at a show Saturday night. It was a great show. We're going to see Dallas Alexander on Wednesday. He's freaking amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, the talent level in the city, we've said it since like we started interviewing people.
Well, it just funny you say that, because I find that as we found different things, it's grown even more, which is kind of cool, because when we started, you're like, okay, we got to talk to this person, and then they tell us who to talk to next. And now people are messaging us, and Dawg's finding new stuff, and it's quite a vibrant scene. I mean, I think that when we spoke to Marble Ghosts, what was the name? Sorry?
Dylan,
yeah. Dylan was talking about how it reminded him of the grunge scene in Seattle, because, maybe obviously on a smaller scale, but like how everybody was supporting each other at the time and going to each other's shows in Seattle and basically creating great music together and collaborating and supporting and people meeting people, and it's beautiful stuff, you know, like it's just an interesting scene. I think that that's a great as Ottawa has grown, you know, I grew up here and you were from Cornwall, but you've seen Ottawa kind of really grow, not only just in population but also things to do, and you know, we're not quite that sleepy town that everybody talks about all the time. So with that comes more art, which is wonderful, right? So
Yeah. I think, you know, I think the next thing would be maybe like a kind of medium-sized festival. Obviously not something as big as like Blues Fest, but some kind of like outdoor situation. And especially just knowing that it is a government town, like it is hard to get people out, you know, past 9 o'clock. There is a saying about Ottawa, right, that they roll up the sidewalks at midnight. But I think even just like having music throughout the day or whatever, you know, like if there's like a Saturday, like I bet you if we played on a Saturday afternoon, I could get like 100 people to come see us. But I'm like, oh, we're going at 9. They're like, oh, I don't know, man, I got to go for my run in the morning. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of my friends are athletes and stuff too. So it's just, yeah, it's harder to get some people out late at night when the fun things happen.
True
But
story.
yeah, I don't know, some kind of festival where you could get people to come out on a Saturday afternoon and you know, have a pop and hang out, I think would be kind of cool.
not a bad idea.
Yeah, run with it.
Yeah, I'll just add that to the list.
Yeah, just of things that we're doing besides, you know, starting a radio station and all that kind of stuff.
Kids.
Yeah, oh, that for you. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. Oh, those.
Yeah, my twins.
Yeah,
that's a shit show.
I've got something we haven't done in a very long time.
Oh,
Either or.
okay.
Yeah.
I
So
like it. I
you-
think you have the right culprit.
Yep, we do. Okay, so it's either or. You have to pick one or the other, and then maybe give
Yep.
us a little brief explanation, or you don't have to. Led Zeppelin or the Beatles?
Oof. I think the Beatles.
Fair.
Just given the amount of time that, you know, and the breadth of what they've done. You know, and you can say it sounds like children's music or whatever, but truly some of those songs are like, these guys knew how to write like great songs and would get you like from the first lyric, right? Help.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yep.
just right from the hook, just like boom. Yeah, Beatles.
Derek, just so you know, there's no wrong answers here.
I'd go Led
Just in
Zeppelin.
my head, but anyway.
I think I'd
Okay,
go
I won't be
Led
scored.
Zeppelin.
No, you won't. I'm not writing this down at all. He picked.
Yeah, we'll put.
We're going to talk about it
Is this
after
a
the
is-
notes.
Wait, is this a personality test?
Yes, it is,
trying to
actually.
sign
I'll
me
tell
up
you
for
what.
Scientology?
I'll
Is
tell you
Tom
how you
Cruise
did it,
behind
James.
your?
Yeah, we have something to talk to you at the end. Actually,
He's in the next
Okay.
room.
Okay,
Okay.
just do you need my credit card number? Because I could
he
give
just
you
flew.
that
He
if
just
you-
flew
if
his
you need
own
it.
helicopter in. He's just out front there.
And we got one of those Nigerian princes in the next room too.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. Brian Adams or Bruce Springsteen?
Oh, Bruce.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be a funny one because you mentioned him when you were chatting earlier. Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jimi Hendrix?
Ooh. Yeah, I think Stevie Ray.
Wow.
I figured you'd go that way because you mentioned him earlier. Here's one that'll kind of divide the room if you pick wrong. No pressure. Johnny Cash or Waylon Jennings?
Oh.
Oh, I'm going Johnny Cash.
Yeah, baby. He's a big Waylon fan. I'm a big Johnny fan, so that's why I said that. And an easy one to finish it off, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Wow. I'm the opposite on every answer.
Right on.
Shit.
Like I'm Zeppelin. I'm well, actually, the Boss probably we would agree on. I don't know. I like Brian Adams, but Boss for sure.
Well, I kind of like I've always thought that we have like the U.S. has Springsteen, we have Brian Adams. That's kind of
Yeah.
the way I think they have Dylan.
Who's bigger?
We have
Boss.
Well, the Boss is bigger,
Yeah.
but you know they have Dylan. We've got Neil Young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always seems to be some kind of pairing that we could
Yeah.
go with for pretty much if you threw anybody at
RC Cola
versus
Coke or Pepsi.
Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was just for fun. Anyway,
Remember the old RC Cola?
yes, I do.
I actually like that.
I'm old enough.
Yeah. Those are solid. They don't make it anymore, obviously, but
They should.
What can fans expect from your live show?
A good time, and hopefully they feel what we put into the music too. Obviously people may not necessarily come like knowing all the lyrics or whatnot. But I hope that they feel that like we, if we're going to do an hour set, we're going to put it all out there, and we're going to finish, and we're going to be like, yeah, we gave you what we had.
That's cool.
And we hope that you walked away feeling something. The other day, someone told Adam, she said, after that song about being a sucker and losing your love, I cried. And he was like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, one more.
One more.
Well, I can speak to that too, because I didn't know about you guys until Lauren told me about you guys. He's like, yeah, I love these guys, man. And I was supposed to go to see the show. I think it was at the Rainbow, and I missed it. But then I heard, they're playing at the Brass Monkey. I'll definitely get out to that one. So I listened to what you guys had recorded. I'm like, okay, I like this. And then, like you said, the whole show was like, everybody was great. And I was standing there with Lauren. I'm like, yeah, Lauren, you got this. This is right. So it's pretty cool.
Lauren's got pretty good taste, actually.
He's okay.
Yeah, and shout out to those guys like Lauren and Winter, man. Those guys are like, man, they're good, and they put on a great show too. I love the way Bobby plays his bass. Like I love the way I love the way they're each like, kind of characters and just have a feel to them.
Yeah.
And great sound, great show.
Yeah, Bob's a lot of fun to watch because he's just so. Like, it's funny because I've said that before with different bass players, because you got your bass player, like you said, that plays in the pocket, right? So he's just there, and Bob's just got that grin on his face, like he's loving life. And then we've got, what's his name from Finely Tuned Elephant, who's just insane on stage. Like he's running around, he's running through the crowd, he's jumping up, and you never think that by looking at him or talking to him.
Yeah, when you speak to him, it's not.
It's crazy.
He's a different character, for sure.
Yeah, that's what's fun.
Yeah.
You got there, mister?
Oh, I just asked one.
But did you? Okay.
I can do it again.
Do it again.
What do you like to do in your free time outside of music?
Oh, man, I'm so busy. I'm like so overcommitted in every aspect of life. I used to also be like race bikes at elite, like pro level. So I still try to keep in shape, doing that, riding my bike and running and skiing, trying to be fit. Got the music and work occupies a lot of my life. And then, have my wife, and we have 2 cats, and our cats are like the best, and just like run around the house after the cats.
And what are their names?
So they're both named after famous cyclists who, so one is called Wout. So that's a Belgian name. My wife and I, when we were both racing, we spent time living in Belgium in the winters. And our favorite cyclist is Wout van Aert. And the other one is named Floyd for the disgraced cyclist Floyd Landis, who had won the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I raced against Floyd back in the day.
It's
kind of funny. I met him in New York, and he's definitely a character.
Well, at least you didn't name one of them Lance.
Well, okay, so the story gets worse. So our cat that we had before, we had him till he was 17, and his name was actually Armstrong, and he was named after Lance. But before we knew that Lance was,
disgraced.
We knew that disgraced, because he would have got his name in like 2000. 2000.
Well, but then a lot of them blood dope back then. Like I feel like a lot of them did.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a singularity.
Sure.
Yeah. It wasn't singular for sure.
So he was the best of the blood dopers.
Well, he was the one that didn't get caught for the longest time, I guess. So,
and he lied about it.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna say? Yeah, I'm doping. Yeah. Just take away my 6,
7, 6 or 7,
6 or 7. I don't know.
7. Yeah. And that was, blood doping, EPO, human growth hormone, cortisol, like just every kind of cocktail imaginable.
Yeah. Jacked up.
Just like anything in sport, right? You throw enough money at someone, and at all levels of sport, unfortunately, like you throw millions of dollars at someone.
Yeah. We'd like to experience that. So if anybody wants to throw $1 million at me, I would like to see what I would do with it.
You'd waste it. You'd blow it all.
I would not. Oh, yes, I would.
Going on that though, remember Bill Burr had this great bit about Lance Armstrong. Are we just going to forget about the millions of dollars he raised for cancer? Because he did raise a lot of money for cancer research. So we can't just, I do get the other point, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I honestly, I know Lance can be a bit of a, he's definitely a personality, but I have no issue with that guy, even though, he's done some things. He did it. To what I think he's paid in more ways than people have, and unfortunately he just got caught and
Mhm.
ended up being the scapegoat for a lot of things. But if I met that guy today, I actually raced him and I beat him once in Las Vegas. It was like one of the happiest moments of my life because I'm like, I beat Lance.
That's crazy.
But yeah. But
Oh,
if I got to meet him and shake his hand, I'd be like, man, you're still awesome. I don't care.
Yep.
Yeah,
I would say good job in dodgeball. That's what I would say.
it was good enough. Yeah. When you're cycling, what's your strong suit? Because there's the hills, there's the straightaways, there's the downhill. Obviously everybody's pretty good at downhill, but you know how Lance was like the king of the mountains, right? Like he was so good at going up the hills and stuff. What would you say is your strong suit?
Yeah, when I was racing, I would be really good in races that got like out of control and super sloppy and unorganized. And then I would always like attack from far and then I'd go solo for like 20 or 30 kilometers and then win. So yeah, head head down, just whether it's flat, uphill, downhill, whatever, out in front with people chasing me. That's my strong suit and I can just put myself in this area where I just like kind of don't feel pain anymore and just kind of not black out, but I usually don't even remember after the race is over. I just
You
kind of get
lock
locked in and
Yeah.
yeah, and
I think that's a competitive sport thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I get like that sometimes with certain sports, and it's the best. It's the best feeling in when you're kind of in the zone.
yeah, and I get that from music too, like when you do a good set, and you know that you played really well and you just the band was tight and stuff. It's a very similar, like yeah, a very
Yeah.
similar kind of sensation.
Well,
The
it's fun to
stank, he
watch,
gets the
right?
stank.
It's the stank. It's
Yeah.
the mecca of stank.
Yeah.
No, it's fun to watch because, like you said earlier, like you're up there. People are paying to come in to see you, and it doesn't matter that it's like 15, $20. It doesn't every performer I've seen, nobody's holding back. Nobody's like, oh, I deserve more than this. Everybody's like giving it, and it shows. Like it shows in your performance. It shows when you guys are on stage having a good time. And like as a person who comes to the shows and pays the money, I really respect that. I don't want somebody to go to a show and have them mail it in. I'm like, well, this is not worth my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often wonder, like if I should get a little wireless thing and so I could because I would like to run around a little bit more and be a little bit more active when we're playing. Um, but there's a lot going on, right? Especially if you're singing a little harmonies here and there, you gotta like make sure you're back at the mic, not
Yep.
trip over your cables and stuff.
Well,
Yeah, so full respect to guys who are running all over the place. It's awesome.
Well, it depends on the venue too, right? The
Yeah.
Brass Monkey's a big venue. So, I mean, I don't know. If I ran to the back of that venue, I'd be out of breath.
Yeah, you would.
But I'm
Yeah.
old and fat and lazy.
Yeah, those
we-
are all.
And I don't play an instrument. So
Yeah,
there's all of that.
Yeah. So you really can't relate. So
Not even a little bit.
yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out, by the way.
You want to
Appreciate it.
ask the question?
I do, but I know the answer already, so I really don't want to ask it.
So do I. It's okay.
Derrick, as you know, we ask the same question. We've been asking it for 3 years, and I'm getting my ass kicked. If you had to pick a decade of music, be it the 80s or the 90s, what are you choosing?
Yeah, I'm going 90s.
You could have taken another second. Come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. So much good music across all the genres. And yeah, there's just and probably too because the time in your life, right? Like, obviously, music is associated with so many things and that youthful time in my life, a lot of different experiences. I lived in North Carolina for a while. Late 90s and stuff and finishing nursing school and stuff like just and I don't know, before everything was on, like I know music's been recorded to clicks for a while now, but it feels like it's so much more digital, and it just feels like stuff was a little bit more analog back then. And we didn't have all the social media, and like you had to buy an album, and I know maybe that's ridiculous or whatever, but like there was more into it. If you bought an album, like you'd have like albums like just like good from like start to end, like every song. Now there are a few artists that even release full albums, and then you get like 2 good songs, and it's on a playlist. The way we consume music is obviously so different now, and it's good because it allows you to explore other genres. But yeah, man, like those classic albums from the 90s and even early 2000s, just like great track after great track. It's good when you can buy it on vinyl, and when you're like $60, sure.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's a good point, because to spend that much money when you could just have it on your phone is definitely a
For
commitment.
free.
Yeah.
That's the thing too, right? Like we always ask when we're talking to musicians and bands and stuff, are you going to produce hard copies? Because we love them. Like, be it tapes for him, CDs, albums. Like I started out with albums, obviously. Still love them. Still collecting them. And I'm quite happy when the bands make that effort. And I understand it's an expense, and I get it. So I'm not above paying like $40 to. I don't think I paid $60 for an album yet.
I have. I've paid more than that, actually.
Yeah. Oh, do tell.
Well, there's a Jimi Hendrix released that big, like there's like 10 albums in it. I have that. That was well,
that's a little different. I mean, 10 vinyl in one. Like that's you're going to pay for.
That was well over $60, but I was down with that at that moment. So what do you guys got coming up? What's the next show, and what's your summer like?
Yeah, so we've had a hard time to book gigs. So like we're like available, if ever some other bands are looking for a +1. We have something in like mid-July on a Wednesday, I think July 23rd. We're playing with the Sunburns at Live on Elgin. We're going to play a party, which was really fun at Adam's house that Winter played last year too. And Love and Mayhem were there. And yeah, we're hoping to book a couple other gigs this summer, because we don't have a lot on the calendar. So it'd be nice to get some more. But if not, we'll use it to just work on some of the newer songs and just be super tight when the shows roll around.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you guys like try to book them yourselves, or have you ever thought of like looking into some of the people in the city who do book shows?
Yeah, we should probably get someone who books shows. I think because we're just all so busy, and then it's like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And then, and that falls through because of the rest of the guys have kids and stuff, and work and music, and so yeah, I think that would probably be wise for us.
Cool.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think that you should consider it, because we have some connections, and obviously, if anybody's watching this episode, call them up. They're ready to play.
Yeah.
And
yeah, especially if they're still watching. 58 minutes in.
Oh, they're watching.
They're watching.
Yeah.
We threaten.
Hopefully they
them,
want to hear our
so.
songs.
Yeah, we threaten a lot of people.
Yeah.
You guys you're starting a radio station? Did I hear that?
Dawg is, yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
It's
Be Kind Radio.
Be Kind Radio. Yeah. It's well, it's kind of, when we first started, I wanted to do a radio station 4 years ago, but then somebody convinced me to do a podcast instead. And and then I don't know why it came up again, but it did. And yeah, and we're going full force. I have a friend who's working hard on getting DJs. We're up to like 15 DJs for the station. It's going to be a lot of indie focus on it, like so local bands here and around the area. We got a guy in Pembroke that's going to be doing some of the bands down that way. I'll be doing like Ottawa through to Kingston, or probably even further. And hopefully we'll add on a few more DJs that'll be doing indie music as well. So we're looking to soft launch in the middle of June to get all the technical stuff out of the way. And then, because it's not a busy enough day, we're going to start July 1st.
Give her.
Oh, wow.
Give her, buddy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he'll be playing some of your tracks.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
So that just, pushes you guys to get more stuff recorded so I can play it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Derrick, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We appreciate you and love your band. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me. And sorry the other guys couldn't join.
That's okay. We had a great chat. Thank you.
Okay.
Dawg and Gus, Dawg and Gus, Dawg and Gus.